we can trade all of this on the plate of politics, but to what end? Yeah. And I think that, madam, that's where the concern is it not?
Yeah, it
to
is.
To what end?
It is. I think that it doesn't matter which, and sorry for rudely interrupting you. You know, I think it doesn't matter which party is in power. For us, workers and ordinary Ghanaians, who are the downtrodden, we just abhor politicians selling even football pitches to themselves. I think it doesn't make sense to me. You know, sometimes it seems as if people just get into public office to desecrate everything that has been built, not by themselves, but by others. And it doesn't matter which regime is in power. And to reduce this discussion to just politics, I'm sorry, is not on, and it's a no-no. Because if we have to trade accusations, you know, and this party did this and that party is doing that, for goodness sakes, we're looking at workers' monies. For goodness sakes, workers can't just take it. When some months down the line, we were told, if you don't take care, SSNIT funds or pensions monies are going to dry up. And then you come back and tell us you are selling SSNIT investments, which when we need to ask the questions, and we need to find out why this. Because I think too often people get into public office poor. And then when they're leaving office, they are so filled and so corrupt and conquering everything in their way. I'm sorry, it's not on. Okay. You know, so please don't let us reduce this discussion into politics or to politics. Let us look at pension funds, because we're all interested. Ordinary people, I mean, people take 400 Ghana cedis at the end of the month. Isn't that a big deal?
Yes, indeed.
Is that not a big deal? And so for me, if we have to sit here and trade accusations because we think that this party did this and that party did that, I'm sorry, it's not on. I'm sorry.
Well, you have to leave us. But then again, at what point should this have even been of interest to Parliament? And just a quick one on that. And then we'll conclude on the other matter that you have to speak to, and then we'll leave.
So this claim that everything has been above board and the due process has been followed is very preposterous, totally ridiculous. If you read organized labor statement, organized labor has pointed to some of the infractions. For example, organized labor states, their 20th May 2024 statement, that the original proposal of the sale of SSNIT interest in 6 hotels has now reduced to 4. We hold the view that this renders the whole process null and void. And that's the procurement law. When you advertise, you say this is what you are going to do, this is what people should bid for. If you change midstream, you have to start the process again for people to retender. That's the position of the procurement law. And organized labor has identified it. Organized labor again states that the proposed payment terms have been varied from the original MOU based on the recommendation of the transaction advisor. That is what organized labor is telling us. That what the transaction advisor says should be done. The payment terms. That is not what you have offered to the Honorable Acheampong to pay. It's different. And these are coming from insiders, board members of SSNIT, who represent organized labor. And that has not been challenged. Then there are more breaches. If you read what these lawyers are raising, in the case of Ridge Royal, and that's why organized labor made the point that you are treating these hotels as if they are all the same. Before SSNIT went to advertise, under the 1st April 1999 shareholders agreement of Ridge Royal, there should have been a shareholders meeting. They should have called a general meeting to discuss this matter. That was not done. They hurriedly went to advertise, went ahead and selected the prospective buyer, the Honorable Acheampong, until the lawyers had to protest by this letter in the case of Ridge Royal. These are clear procurement breaches, fundamental. You know, the arm twisting, the lack of due process. And you see, this claim that the Honorable Acheampong has made the best deal, he is the savior for SSNIT shares and all of that. What is the track record? Last week, I put out what happened at the Kumasi Catering Guest House when SSNIT decided to sell their 25% shares to the Honorable Acheampong. I have the minutes of that meeting, dated 16th March 2022. From these minutes, if you read page 2, the SSNIT's proposition on the sale price, Mr. Osafo Mafu, I'm quoting verbatim, Mr. Osafo Mafu stated that the trust had an independent valuation done and the value of the trust 25% was 8.6 million Ghana cedis. Will you believe that at the end, Rock City was allowed to pay far below the valuation of the 25%? They offered 7.4 million, and I have the Rock City letter here, offering only 7.4 million. Ghanaian workers lost 1.2 million. This is a letter signed by Rock City, dated 14th April 2022, way below the independent valuation of 8.6 million. They offered only 7.4 million. And even that, if you read these minutes, SSNIT said that this transaction should be done in dollars because of, we all know, Lawyer Matikpebu was talking about how this currency has collapsed. Bloomberg says it's the world's worst performing currency. So let me quote Mr. Chum of SSNIT. He says, Mr. Chum followed with a suggestion that the sale price should have been pegged in United States dollars and pegged at the current dollar rate to the cedi. This was declined by the Rock City team. They declined. And you see, the irony is that when SSNIT is paying the transaction advisor in this deal, it's in dollars, $491,000. And yet, when they are collecting money from Rock City, it's in cedis. They allowed Rock City to decline. And even that, Rock City paid in installment, which was not part of the agreement. In installment. So what is happening now, if you talk to experts, is that the proceeds from the hotel, which is now called the Grand Regency Hotel in Kumasi, is what is being used to pay. I mean, can you believe that?
Well, that was a Kumasi Catering
Yes,
house.
yeah, Kumasi Catering. So when you look at this unholy alliance between SSNIT and Rock City, and you look at their track record, nobody can convince me that we will have value for money. Because we have already lost money with the shares in what was known as Kumasi Catering Guest House. So that is the fact. I speak to documents. I speak to evidence. So look, let's this claim about, oh, this is some savior, some superman who's come with a lot of money to save our hotels. These hotels didn't need saving in the first place. I am even questioning the fundamental principle, the policy decision to sell these hotels. Who took those decisions? What were the considerations? We are talking about pension funds. You need long-term investments. And you see, don't forget that these are fixed assets. Is anybody analyzing the value of that land? Labadi Beach, La Palm, these are the widest beachfront hotels in our country and probably anywhere in Africa. Do you know the value of beachfront?
Okay.
When this purchase was made 35 years ago, do you know the value today? These are fixed assets. And look, they claim that there is going to be some... Look, in procurement, you can be the highest bidder, but your bid may not meet the actual valuation. I have seen some quotations, and in the coming days, Ghanaians will be shocked. How much all of this claim about some, savior coming with a lot of money to save these hotels, you'll be shocked at how much some of these hotels are going for. For a song, particularly Elmina, you'll be shocked. So, look, the facts don't support all of these claims that are being made. Okay. As for their personal attacks, they can go on with it. As I told you, I'm so used to it. What I like about public office is that on a daily basis, what we do, what we say, our reputation is in the public domain. The Ghanaian people know. They will judge who is a pretender, who is not seeking the national interest, who is protecting the public purse. The Ghanaian people will judge. And let me finally say that it is President Akufo-Addo who told us not too long ago that he cautioned all his appointees that those who want to make money, those who want to do business and be big-time entrepreneurs, they should stay in the private sector. That his government is not a money-making venture. Don't come and say that you are some colossus of an entrepreneur and you are going to be buying state assets and all of that. President Akufo-Addo, he said, those who want to make money, who want to do big deal transactions, should stay in the private sector. What has happened to that? That is why I am disappointed that it's been more than a week since we raised this matter. The president can step in. These are all his appointees who are breaching his own edict, his own directive to them, which he told us publicly. They are violently, flagrantly breaching it. Even the president, by that statement, he acknowledges the requirements under Article 284, under Article 98, Article 78, about the conduct of public officers and whether you can use public office to do big business and whether it is right to be purchasing state assets. So I agree with the TUC, and I have been consistent for 16 years and more that politicians, public officials, particularly when your party is in power, you hold office, you should stay away from the sale of state assets. I think that it is just unconscionable, and the Constitution is very clear about these matters. But I am glad that, Alfred, I can confirm to you that the team of lawyers that I put together working on the private members bill, we are far advanced. We are going to, because it's clear that some politicians are taking advantage of loopholes. We are going to have a private members bill that will be very clear, very direct, with sanctions, that no politician should be allowed to purchase state assets. It's going to be very clear, expressly stated in that private members bill. And I hope that we shall all support
and
that
it is
effort.
one that we will keep an eye on as well. It's very, very important. And as I indicated, Samuel Okudzoto Blackwell had to come in this morning to make this point, and then he will leave. We'll also bring in Lawyer Martin Pebu, but that will be quickly, because I know that the TUC as well, you have petitioned the presidency. You have petitioned the president, Madam Nayeli,
Yes.
to have this sale halted. What's going to be the next step after this? Quickly.
Well, organized labor has said the sale must be halted. And we have asked that we have a meeting with the president. And they have acknowledged receipt of our letter. We're waiting for a date. So we haven't been given a date yet. Hopefully that date will come soon. Then we'll be able to sit with the president and have a discussion on this. And hopefully in that meeting, all the parties that have anything to do with this issue would be at the table. So that really, if we think that our investments are in trouble, let's come together and find how best to resuscitate them, and not just give them off at a pittance. And I just want to conclude by saying this to all of us workers. Pensions money is your money, is my money. Be interested in the issues.
Indeed.
It is of concern to you, it is of concern to me, and we must all be interested. It doesn't matter where you work. Even the president, when he retires, he would be given his ex gratia or whatever they call it, and then he would take his pensions on a monthly basis. So let's all be interested in the issues as Ghanaians. Because, it is not on when the state assets are just given off, without any blink of an eye. It goes against you, it goes against me, and our pensions money is sacred money. It must not be touched. Our pensions, investments are sacred investments. They must not be touched. In any case, if we have to touch them, let's agree, let's come together as partners and see how we can make a better way forward.
Okay, thank you so much. And I do really, really appreciate you coming as well. and putting the TUC's position out and what you're going to do beyond
and
this.
Organized labor.
And organized labor, for that matter, for what you're going to do beyond this petition to the presidency. Thank you very much. And Madam Na Ayele Setre is also going to leave us. A senior officer in charge of public relations and campaign at the Trades Union Congress. And thank you so much for making time to come as well.
Pleasure.
And we really do appreciate you coming. Also, some of the critics of Black had to leave us. And this point, Lawyer Martin Pebo, I reserve the last for you because these two principal speakers will have to leave us.
It's fine.
But if you look at it in law, because a lot of the conversation has been on the ethical considerations in this sale, and to the extent that conflict of interest does not necessarily have to be real, it has to be apparent, or even if it is perceived, it is still concerning.
Yes.
But if Bryan Acheampong in his defense comes and says, look, this conflict of interest matter doesn't apply to me because I'm a non-executive director, I'm only a shareholder, I don't need permission from the speaker to do anything, will that suffice?
Not at all. Not at all under our current constitutional dispensation. You see, let's even make this clear. He needn't even be a director before the conflict of interest rule will catch him. Yes, he needn't be. The whole concept of the conflict of interest here is not tied to only the positions. It's about whether a specific conduct the public officer is engaged in, okay, for his personal interest, conflicts with the official interest he's supposed to guard, the public trust reposed in him. So it's not about the position of being a director or not. That's not it. Except that once he's a director on the papers, on the company records, then it even makes it easier to nail him. But if we were to even take away the position, we would still find that, look, he's a shareholder, or even if he wasn't a shareholder, but we found out that he was engaged in those activities, purchasing the hotels, etc., it will still catch him once we can show that, look, this conflicts. So you see the letter from the traditional people saying that they saw him on site with investors.
And the SSNIT says the deal has not been concluded.
Excellent.
Negotiations are ongoing.
Ongoing.
So that's why I asked a question on what basis this will be happening.
So, yes. So you see that letter dated 29th of March, 2022, right, from the Edna Traditional Council, speaks volumes that Mr. Acheampong was in the thick of affairs. In the sale of the hotel. Yet here he is denying that, no, he's not involved in the running of the business. But on the ground, he's been seen. So you would see the issues of the conflict because, as has been stated, under Article 78, Clause 3 of the Constitution, he ought to have been given permission by the Speaker. He doesn't have the Speaker's certificate to do this business. He doesn't have the Speaker's certificate. So why is Mr. Acheampong flouting the Constitution? That is what we should be asking him. Then you go number 2. No, so after that's number 3. The first point is he's been seen on the ground. Number 2, he doesn't have the Speaker's certificate under Article 78, Clause 3. And then point number 3, you go to the sale of the SSNIT interest in the Regency Hotel. You see how his company makes a very low offer. Yes, his company makes that low offer. When SSNIT is even saying that, listen, we use a data valuation. Mr. Kansi, that's what we should be looking at. Look at what the SSNIT, the minutes say. They say...
This is in the sale of the Kumasi Catering Guest House, which is now Grand Regency Hotel.
Yes. They are making the point that...
2022.
Yes. The point is that even the 8.6 million is a dated valuation. I think one thing we should be interested in is pushing further to see how old is that valuation. But They make it clear. Let's read that point. He says, Mr. Chum added that the RCG, okay, that's Rock City Group, are fortunate that the trust has used a dated valuation figure since asset values always appreciate with time. This is something we should be interested in finding out. How old is that valuation report? Look, it's something we should investigate. Yes. Let's investigate it. Because they are saying the 8.6 SSNIT is quoting is old. It's old. How old? Let's find out.
We need to get some answers.
We shouldn't let this pass. We shouldn't let this pass. The minutes have captured it. That you are lucky we are using a dated valuation. And why do you think they are doing dated valuation? It's because of Mr. Bryan Acheampong. Is he not the one who said, we will not hand over? We will not hand over. The one who was making noise. That no, we will never hand over, right? And other things is done for this government. So, like Honorable Okujedo said, they are selling the shares and everything for a song, very low values to pay Bryan Acheampong for the militant approach. We will not hand over this government. MPP government will never hand over. Will never hand over. Yes, those are the proceeds. That's the payment he's receiving for such behavior. You see, I always knew it. That look, for all those things that he was doing, they were not free. It was for something. So, when you see a minister, okay, that time he wasn't minister yet, right? When you see an MP come to make such noise, increasing the temperature of the nation, that MPP will never hand over, it wasn't going to be for free. He was doing all that to make it easier for the government to give him such freebies.
So how about this argument that says it's a separate, basic company law 101, separate legal entity? Bryan Acheampong as a politician cannot be drawn into the decisions that this institution, a legal institution, separate in the sense of Rock City.
No. It's neither here nor there.
Okay.
So just the last sentence, and then we'll come to this second question. Right. So the conflict of interest, just wrapping up on it, shows that you've already said, Mr. Okansa, that under Article 284, they're saying that it's not only about actual conflict of interest, but also when it is apparent. So anybody hearing that, Minister for Agri, his company, Rock City, is buying a chain of hotels from government, quickly, everybody there, this is a fishy deal. You see it? That's the height of the submission. Right. Anybody hearing that Minister for Agri, who is sole shareholder of Rock City Group, is buying a string of hotels from SSNIT, and SSNIT is controlled largely by government, quickly, your sense of this suspicion will be heightened that, hey, this is a corrupt deal, especially in light of the context that President Kufuor has been seen to be very corrupt, a very corrupt administration, that, his corruption record is that the lowest mark the previous administration, JM, got is his best mark. That's 43 for 4 years. And other things is done. SML deal, Cecilia Dapa cash. You will never, and of course the 800 million President Kufuor tried to take from us when he padded the Ameri deal by $800 million. But for the vigilance of the NDC, Kufuor was going to fleece us by $800 million. That's one of the cases we'll be accounting for. So the point is that if you look at the context of such a stinking, corrupt administration, and you hear that a minister is buying a string of hotels from SSNIT, which is controlled by government, your sense of corruption will be what? Heightened, right? And so you see conflict. Now, the conflict, let's also forget that there's another aspect of it. The time that Bryan Acheampong uses, all right, when he should be performing parliamentary duties and other stuff, he's using that time in chasing this deal, facilitating it. The chiefs have said it, that they saw him on the ground. I'm not the one saying it.
In the letter that you have a copy of that letter?
27th of March, the chief has said that Bryan Acheampong was seen on the ground. And that's the business we're saying that the law doesn't allow him to do without permission from the Speaker of Parliament, right? Yes, so I'm not the one saying it. Let's repeat. This is it here. Yes. So that's 27th of March 2023. It says that this is when Honorable Bryan Acheampong, Member of Parliament for Ebitifi constituency, visited the site with the investors.
Okay.
It's on it, etc. So that is it. So that's Article 284 for you. The second part of your question, he's saying that he's just a director. It's still the same thing.
A non-executive director.
Yes, it's neither here nor there. The position director, I know when you take the Companies Act, Act 992, and it's always been the same, even under the old Companies Code, etc. So, directors, right, are responsible for formulating policy for the company, among other things, oversight, etc. It is no mean position. A director is responsible for formulating policy for the company, for oversight, etc. So he's in that office. Listen, and the nature of the office, director's office comes with director's fees, etc. It's no answer to say that he has not received any money, which will obviously be a lie. I mean, obviously. Then is he saying that the company, Rock City, is making losses? Is Rock City in bankruptcy? So that it just clearly catches him. A director is responsible for the company. The difference between the non-executive and the executive is that the executive director usually works in the company from morning to evening. When I say morning, of course, it extends beyond that. So he usually keeps an office there and works with the employees. But that aside, he is still responsible for oversight. And the other directors are also responsible for oversight, policy formulation for the company, you know, the plans, we will do this strategic investment, disinvest, move from this area, enter the next area, take major decisions. So looking at it, please, Mr. Acheampong cannot be heard to say that being a director, because he's not an executive director, he's done nothing wrong. No, the law catches him straight.
Okay, and then while you round up, you were giving me an indication of making a statement on this merchant bank matter, and
yes,
I really don't want us to dwell.
Yes,
because then it takes away the essence.
Yes.
Of this conversation and what has to be done.
Yes, just one sentence.
In the interest of the public.
Yes, one sentence, which is that, Honorable Chinia, you are aspiring to be a lawyer, right? Your court, this merchant bank matter, it went to court. What did the court say? Kofi Bentil and the others, right, Awuni and the rest, they went to court, challenged the transaction. What did the court do? Threw them out, and the deal went through. Today you are pointing accusing figures at only a few people. Why don't you look at what the court said too? Why don't you look at what the court said too? So that is the point, because if you just make it look like, oh, this one offered 34 million and then the South African company offered 91. So just by looking at the figures, they are wrong. I'm saying that when the matter went to court, why didn't the court uphold? The court threw them out and allowed the transaction through. So today, who are you blaming?
Lawyer.
Yes.
Just to make a very brief statement on this. You see, I was seated here when my colleague made reference to the Jacob Echibalamti case.
Yes.
And even made reference to the fact that in some cases the minority's view is relevant, which I saw you nodding. It means you were in agreement.
Yes.
But he lost the case. And the matters we are discussing now has not also gone before court to be determined that your opinions that you hold are also factual. They are not established because
they are documents. He admits he's sole shareholder. He admits he's director.
But the MP has written to Siraj. Siraj is yet to investigate and to either decide whether they agree with his position or not. So that your issues that you are also raising are not matters of fact. That you are expressing your opinions.
All right.
So I mean, if I also make, because I look at all these things that we, as a country, we need to discuss these matters dispassionately.
Well,
we need to look at whether the decisions that we are making by selling these state assets is good or not, so that we can make a way forward. I have no doubt, and the position of TUC, I continue to say I support it. They've written to the presidency, they want engagement, and Okujeto has written to Siraj. I mean, they should investigate it. At the end of the day, they will establish a case against Bryan or not, and we'll see the way forward.
Well, you made the point.
That is...
Yes. Yeah. But I think that lawyer Martin Pebbles' input on this matter as well was also very important, at least just so that the public is very well informed on it, to the extent that this matter did travel to court, and there was a determination, right, by the court on this.
Well, can say there are a lot of issues we raise based on morality.
Yes, we'll be back. And I think that it was instructive that that would be put out. That this merchant bank matter you keep referring to actually was
but it was. I just want the listeners to also know that was the NDC and government position at the time.
Yes, and there was even
they chose a lesser bid.
We'll be back shortly
for a higher bid.
Sorry, we'll be back shortly after this quick break, and stay with us. And let me just put it on record as well that Sami Jemfi, who is a private legal practitioner and the National Communications Officer of the NDC, is joining us. And Samuel Okujetua Blakwa has left us. So we'll be back. And also we'll be joined by Professor Apia Etiahene, who is an associate professor of law at the University of Ghana School of Law, also joining us on our next issue, which is what happened in court 2 days ago. We'll be back shortly after this quick break.